Without any further ado, I won't go on and on and on and on and on. And so, inshallah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Brother Rashid. It's really great to be with you here today. And so I don't consider myself a scholar by any means. This I have to say, because to be a scholar in Islam or in any religion in general, I mean, you have to study it. But what I consider myself is one of the Muslim sisters who is a proud Muslim, who embraces diversity and respects other faiths and beliefs, but in the same time, I'm really in love with Islam. And it's just that I happen to start reading more, knowing more about Islam, and I just want to share whatever I have from knowledge with you, and you share whatever you have from knowledge with me. So as for us to have this blend or tornado of knowledge in Islam. So whenever we hear women and Islam, what's the first thing that pops up? Let's say not in our mind, but in, in people in general, in the Western world. Oppression. Exactly. Oh, women are mistreated. Women are oppressed in Islam. Women are forced to do things they don't want to do. And so on and so on and so on. And so this is what they believe. Why do you think that happens? What's the reason behind that? Media is one thing. So of course we have all sorts of movies that always show Muslims as those who are sort of like, living in the desert, are not educated, know nothing about anything. And it's like, these are Muslims, or they're terrorists. Or sometimes they're terrorist suspects, or they mistreat, women. So this is, let's say, in the movies. Also in the programs, we always find them highlighting the countries that are mispracticing Islam. So there are several countries, unfortunately, that also take part in the stereotype that's present nowadays when it comes to how they view Islam as a whole and how they view Muslim women in Islam. So we find some countries, and I'll say it, like Saudi Arabia, for instance, or Iran, and I'm not generalizing. There are good people there. There are many good people there. But at the same time, some countries cherry pick. Even though they're Muslims, they cherry pick from the Quran whatever feeds their desire, and they practice it as is without knowing the context. And this is shown to all the world. It's not like something that they can hide. So when they see, for instance, women not being able to drive, this is one thing. Oh, see, Islam oppresses women. They're not allowed to drive. This is one thing. Or when they see women really forced to get married to men without them having the choice, or women not being able to work, and so on and so forth. They see that this is one of the biggest countries when it comes to Islam, and at the same time, they know, since it's one of the biggest Muslim countries, then they are practicing Islam, which means that they sort of understand that these are the Islamic teachings, but this is not true. And how do we know that it's not true? Let's go back to the dawn of Islam, to Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, when he started his Islamic teachings based on the Quran, and when the revelation started coming. So before Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was there, let's say in the pre-Islamic era in Arabia, do you know what were the practices against women? And not only in the Arabian Peninsula, also all over the world. Exactly. So whenever a family has a daughter, the dad buries the daughter, because they believe that, no, we want sons, we don't want daughters, they're disgraces, and they didn't consider them humans in the first place. What did Prophet Muhammad ﷺ do when he came? Among the first things is that this practice was forbidden. Among the first things that he was walking the talk, actually, is that he himself had 4 daughters. And he cherished each and every one of them. He loved them dearly. Sayyidah Fatima, the strong relationship between him and Sayyidah Fatima. So he showed us as an example how a father should be. And since Islam is based on the Quran and based on the Sunnah and Prophet Muhammad, then if you want to label Islam, or if you want to say that Islam, let's say, through Islam, women are mistreated, no. Just stop, go back, read what Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, did when he treated his wife, Sayyidah Khadija, or his wife, Sayyidah Aisha later on, or his daughters, and then start thinking for yourself instead of following the media, or instead of just trying to focus the highlight on bad representation somehow of Islam. Because in any religion, there are people who can mispractice, and there are people who practice the true teachings. So this is one thing. So before Islam also, women didn't have the right to inherit. They didn't have the right to own property. They, I don't remember where, maybe in France and in London, actually, in France and in France and in London, a group of men, and I won't try to say which religion or whatever it is, but I mean, they were just debating whether to specify whether women are human beings or not, or whether they are with souls or not. So it's like, this is how women used to be treated. They used to be treated as property. But Islam came and all this was gone. And how did we get taught, or how did we know how women should be treated? It's by the revelations and by the Quran and what was present in the Quran, subhanAllah. Like, for instance, burying the girls, burying the daughters, it was stated in the Quran. It's totally forbidden. And there are all sorts of verses in the Quran about the women and the rights of women. There is one complete chapter, right? Surah An-Nisa. Surah An-Nur, actually, chapter An-Nur or Surah An-Nur, it's also mostly about women and women's rights. Part of, so is it Surah Al-Baqarah? No, Surah Al-Baqarah is about the death and other things in the end. But I mean, there are a lot of verses. And there are also verses that talk about Sayyidah Maryam, Mary. And we all know that there are, Mary is one of, I don't know how you say it in English, Sayyidat Nisa al-Alameen. The lady of, like, so Mary, and there are 3 other women. They're called Sayyidat al-Jannah, the ladies of the paradise. So, I mean, see, subhanAllah, Allah in the Quran cherished women. Did we see Surah Al-Rijal, like the men, chapter of men? Or so there is a complete chapter for women, for instance, which means that Allah is saying that we created you both as men and women in order to cherish each other, in order to treat each other in an elegant way, in order to be equal. Allah doesn't have a gender, right? Or else it would have been an issue, because would it be like a male and female? So Allah doesn't have a gender, which also specifies and shows that it's not about gender, it's about what we do, it's about our deeds. So this is also important. So this is basically just highlighting how women before Islam were treated, and when Islam came, how women had the right to inherit, to choose the husband, how there were rights when it comes to divorce, and that she can take the initiative to divorce, the custody, and all sorts of rights. We had all sorts of rights. Women in Islam are cherished, they're never oppressed. But there are people who are mispracticing the teachings, hence they show that women are oppressed, but it's not the case. When we go back to the true teachings of Islam, women will never be oppressed. If everyone practiced or adopted the true teachings of Islam, especially men, women can never be oppressed. Okay, so the mic fell, so. So that's when it comes to women before and after Islam. What about the leading roles? Did women work back then in Islam? Did they have leading roles in Islam? Yes, they had, and they were strong women, and they backed up and supported their men. They were there when there were wars. They were there as Muslim scholars giving lectures. Sayyidah Aisha, Until now, we take with her the hadith. She was one of the greatest Muslim scholars throughout the years. We have Sayyida Khadija. She was the first Muslim. She was the first person in this world to know about the revelations, to know more from Prophet Muhammad, and to embrace him and embrace his fears in the beginning because he didn't know what's going on. And she was the first to embrace Islam. We have Al-Khansa. Al-Khansa is a woman who deeply, before Islam, she was a poet, a very, very great poet so the Arabic language is really, it's a very rich language. It has a lot of wordings, and maybe one word would have like many meanings. And she was so strong in the Arabic language, and she used to write brilliant poems. And then when she embraced Islam, she had this strong faith and belief in Islam and in Prophet Muhammad and in Allah, and that she wants to do something. So in one of the battles, she went with her 4 sons. And in this one day, she lost all her 4 sons. And she was happy because she felt that this is for something she believes in deeply, and she had this strong faith. So she was the first to do this huge sacrifice for Islam because she lost 4 sons. I mean, I couldn't ever imagine. I mean, losing one child is so hard. So like losing 4 in one day, that's really, really hard. And one of the closest people to the Prophet was Sayyida Fatima. She was a woman. So we will find that throughout Islam, there are, let me see if I forgot anyone. The first woman who was killed for the sake of Allah in Islam was Sumayya, exactly. So Ala Yasir, Sabran ala Yasir inna maw'idukum al-jannah. Be patient, inshallah, you will be rewarded the highest level of heaven or paradise. So there are, I can go on and on and on, and this is actually what I wanted to discuss with you later. Should we, for instance, every time take the story of one of the leading women in Islam and then reflect on that and see what are the lessons that we can learn? So this is the second part that I talked about. So the first part was how were women treated before Islam, and then how did Islam bring the rights to women? So when they tell us, oh, but they inherit half or quarter of what men inherit. Well, they didn't used to inherit beforehand, but now they have the right to inherit. And why are they inheriting half or quarter of what the men inherit? It's basically because you can see all the rights that women have in Islam. You will find that when she is a daughter, her father and her brother, either her father if he's there, or if he's not, her brother, are responsible of satisfying all her needs when it comes to clothes, shelter, food, and everything. She is not asked to do anything. When she gets married, her husband is responsible of that. Does this mean that she should say, oh, this is why she shouldn't work? No. She has the right to work. She has the right to earn money. And it's her choice whether she want to take part and help or not. It's her choice whether she want to buy like property with what she earns or she want to contribute in the house. But it's not her duty to contribute in the house. It's the man's duty. That is why Islam is fair, is about fairness, basically. That is why we find that men should inherit, actually by logic, they should inherit more than women in Islam because they are the ones who are more responsible when it comes to cherishing the women again. Yes, you earn money. Yes, you have your career, but I am the one here who would like to support. I want to embrace you, basically. So that is why we find it fair. It's not unfair by any means. So that's because of women having a lot of rights in Islam. So at least the men should inherit more because they will need the money sooner or later, whether for their daughters, for their sisters, for their wives, whatever it is. So that's for some of the misconceptions. For instance, we have like the inheritance. Yeah, she inherits less than the man. What other misconceptions do we have? This is another thing. Unfortunately, again, there are some mispractices in some countries where men force women to wear the hijab, but it's not the case in most of the majority of Muslim countries. I doubt that there are a large percentage of women who are forced to wear hijab, actually. It's a matter of choice. Some of them choose to wear it, some don't, and sooner or later, it all depends on what they want to do. Because in the beginning, when we think about it, the hijab is really important, but what's important is the hijab from inside. We need to do hijab from inside on all the things that can make us divert from the way before putting the outer hijab. So I mean, it's a step-by-step process, which takes us from people who are eager to improve to people who are still eager to improve, but at a better level, subhanAllah. So this is for the hijab. What else? What are other misconceptions that are there? Because these are also things that we can focus the spotlight on every month. Like the hitting, right? So, in the Quran, there is a verse that says, hit women if they are disobedient. Well, that is another issue, unfortunately. I mean, having the Quran translated into different languages is great. But Quran by itself was a miracle. You know why is it a miracle? Because it came on the land where everyone was so proficient in the Arabic language to the extent that they used to fight with poetry in Arabic. So they were so proficient in Arabic. So subhanAllah, the Quran came and there were verses inside the Quran that said, the meaning, I mean, I don't know the Quran in English, but I mean the meaning of it is, try to do even if one verse from the Quran, but you won't be able to. And that's true. No one can be able to create even half a verse of the Quran because the way the verses are put together, the way even the letter is put, the wordings, it is a miracle. And it was a miracle. Like some people keep saying, no, why is the Quran a miracle? And this is not a real book. And there are all sorts of things that you can even see in YouTube or read in the internet, unfortunately. But we have always to be sure and confident because we can sense it ourselves. We can see it. We have to be proud. Yes, the Quran was a miracle because it came in an era where the Arabic was a very prevalent language, and it came in an era where everyone was so proficient in Arabic. So from this, I wanted to say that since the Quran came in Arabic, the meanings can be sensed in Arabic more than any other language. And sometimes when people translate, some of them are not honest enough to translate in a good way. Others try as much as possible to translate in an honest and good way, but still, it won't show everything that is there in the Arabic version, which is fine. That is why we all blend together, whether native Arabic and non-Arabic speakers, in order to blend our knowledge together. So, idrib, for instance. Idrib, it has several meanings. And I didn't get it with me this time, but last time there was a lecture also about women in Islam, and I remember having a document having 4 pages just for the meaning of idrib. Just 4 pages, subhanAllah. So it has several meanings. One of them is basically to leave her a little bit. For her to, actually this, if you take it, it's really elegant, so elegant. For every one of you to think, instead of fighting with each other, and this is a very good thing to adopt even in the marriage life. I mean, when a husband and a wife fight together, it's better to give each other a space, even go to a different room, just give yourself time, and then come later and talk. So that's one meaning. Another thing is, have we ever heard a hadith or something that says that Prophet Muhammad hit his daughters or his wife or his other wives of the world? Never, right? And even so, there were restrictions. Like, if you want to do something like that, it has to be mellower than, I don't know what you call it, a feather or so basically there's no hitting whatsoever. Another thing why, unfortunately, Islam is always under attack. And we always see that the media highlights that Muslims are violent. Muslim men are really barbaric, like as if we're living with, Satans. I don't know, and that they continuously abuse their women and they don't know how to treat them well. And they totally forget about the massive amount of abuse that's there worldwide against women. In the U.S., there are studies, massive amount of studies that show the percentage of women that are killed, actually, or abused by spouses or boyfriends. Not only in the U.S., worldwide. So this is culture, this is a practice, this depends on the person's upbringing. It's not about religion. Actually, the religion sometimes come in here to have them. It comes in order to, oh my God, sometimes the words fail me, so, but it comes to make a person better. So if this person had the tendency to be violent, sometimes the religion comes in and makes this person mellower. So if Islam or any other religion, but in our case, if Islam is not making the person better, this means that this person is mispracticing Islam. Because basically Islam helps us. If we adopt the true Islamic teachings, it will help us improve. It will help us be better citizens in the world. It will help us be kind to everyone, because these are the core teachings. That is why everyone in this world should know that they should not be scared that there are Muslims around them or that there are Muslims coming to their country. On the contrary, they should know that these Muslims who are practicing true Islam will be good citizens. They will help. They will be teachers, doctors, all kinds of great professions out there that will help build the society. So why be scared? Why follow the media blindly? Get to know your Muslim neighbor. Get to know your Muslim friend in school, and so on and so forth. So that is when it comes to, stereotyping Muslims in general and women in Islam in particular. What other misconceptions? Polygamy, right? So this is another thing that they always say, oh, Muslim men marry a lot of women. They marry 4 women. They get to marry 4 women. And it's written in the Quran. Well, every verse in the Quran was written after a story happened or after an incident happened. And every verse in the Quran has a specific context. So no one can ever take this verse out of the context and then this is cherry picking basically, but it's not good cherries actually. It's like they're taking cherries that are not tasty that much. It has no taste. You don't have the context, no. So they basically take it and they say, oh, see, the Quran encourages men to marry more than 1 woman, and that's considered abuse because, how can they marry more than 1 woman? Who was not Muslim, and I don't remember his name. Actually, I have it here. Edward something. I can tell you the name later. So this scholar actually was studying polygamy throughout history. And he found that polygamy was there in Judaism, in Christianity, and in Islam. But Islam was the only religion who had regulations inside the Quran for the polygamy. The only religion that put regulations. So everything was there, but Islam came with regulations. So yes, other people are marrying, and you can marry 2, 3, and 4 if you were able to treat them equally, and you won't be able. Which means not to approach this. This is risky, because at the end, it's your wizr. It's hasanat and sayyat. You never know. If you didn't treat them equally, you will face Allah, and then what are you going to say? So, and also the verse of the verse of the polygamy came when the Battle of Uhud. So yes, exactly, the Battle of Uhud. So when it happened, many men died, leaving behind widows and children. So these widows and children need, support, because back then also still, I mean, not all women can work. They need the support. They were depending on their husbands. So the Quran came here in order to regulate. Well, don't fear marrying a second or a third or a fourth wife as long as you treat them equal. And that's basically in order to help these widows and their kids. So see the mercy. It's basically out of help for women again. So it's not a matter of, the man has all the right to marry second, third, and fourth wife. Nowadays, it's not a necessary thing because women can work, for instance. They can support their family. So, I mean, I'm not sure how it goes nowadays, but like those who are, again, mispracticing are very bad representatives of Islam. May Allah guide them to the true path, because we need now more than ever people to start again practicing the true Islam, because it's a beautiful religion that's being sabotaged by the media, by the people, and unfortunately by some Muslims as well. So that is another misconception, the polygamy. What else? There are several misconceptions. Or several things that are being said about women in Islam. For instance, something that wearing the hijab, for instance, hinders the brain from thinking. So, like, we are of lower IQ, or actually, it's like it's squeezing the brain or something. So, okay, this is one thing. This is true. So, I saw it myself. So, and that women and Muslim women are not that accomplished, for instance. They don't get educated that much. They don't get leadership positions that much. Is this true? I can guarantee you that there are educated women in Islam, like, how many? Yes, we should actually Google that statistics-wise. But the level of educated people in Islam, Muslims in general, is high. Because why is that? Why is the level of education in Islam or among Muslims high? What was the first word that was revealed? Iqra. So subhanAllah, and this was the first word, read. And this is another thing, actually, that's considered a miracle. The Quran came to Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, who didn't know how to write and read. So there are all sorts of miracles. Yes, they might not be as obvious as in case of other prophets, but there are a lot of miracles out there. So that is basically what I wanted to share with you today. And it's like an opening for, inshallah, sessions to come, because it would be nice, to have sort of interaction, like workshops, for instance. Like a group would have one paper that they read about, like, let's say, women are mistreated in Islam, and another group that read a paper about women being treated and honored in Islam, and then a debate would start, because from this debate we learn a lot. Because we will think from the perspective of people who are opposing Islam and from the perspective of people who are proud to be Muslims. And then we are ready to talk to anyone outside. We are ready to stand up and speak up and tell them, well, I respect your point of view, but I am a proud, for instance, in our case, I'm a proud Muslim woman who's educated and who came here like any other person who immigrated to the United States, because it's based on immigration. I came here to be a valuable citizen who wants to give back to the society. And I am a Muslim woman who was never oppressed. Yes, there might be Muslim women who are oppressed out there, like other women from other religions, or not from other religions even. But regularly, Islam never teaches that women should be oppressed. And anyways, I want to say that I respect your point of view again, but please think twice before accusing Islam as a religion. So yeah, we have to be, alhamdulillah, happy and proud and satisfied. That we are adopting a very nice religion that has very nice teachings. And the nice thing is that whenever we have doubt, we will always find something that reverts our doubt. And that is the miracle about it. And I told you, like, I'm so happy because I'm learning more. I really took Islam, like, as I said in the outside, like when we were opening a discussion, I was born Muslim. So Islam for me was like, by nature, okay, I'm born Muslim, and we take religion, and like in Egypt, for instance, we have Islamic studies in the school, and it's like by nature, we grow up Muslims, and especially if it's a religious family. But I never sensed the beauty of Islam until I came here. Alhamdulillah. Because when I came here, I felt that I need to dig deeper. I need to understand. I need to believe strongly before talking to anyone, especially nowadays, because we are under attack, definitely. I mean, all Muslims are being, attacked, that they don't fit in, or, they, all sorts of things, and, I don't want to just say negative things, but in general, we have to embrace all the good teachings that are there in Islam and believe in them in order to be able to convey them in this elegant way to others, in order to educate others without bias. I won't be biased when I tell someone that Islam doesn't oppress women and these are not the basic teachings. It's not like I'm biased. No, this is a fact. Go back to the teachings and go back to history and go back to scholars who are not Muslims, by the way, who wrote books and books about Islam and about Prophet Muhammad, and then you will find many unbiased facts about how Prophet Muhammad treated women, for instance. Women in Islam were cherished. Do we see nowadays that much of women represented when men take decisions that are specifically affecting women's life? Anything. So, for instance, there are several things in politics or in life in general that impacts the women's life, and there should be representatives from the women in order to say, yes, we do agree, or no, we don't. But we don't see that in the modern life. Back then, in the era of Sayyidina Umar ibn al-Khattab, Sayyidina Umar ibn al-Khattab, radiallahu anhu. I love him so much, by the way. He's really a great Khalifa. And I love the strength and the pride that he had. He was like, subhanAllah, a pagan before Islam. And then when he embraced Islam, he became this person who wants to do everything in order to prevail Islam and in order to show people that Islam is a great religion. He's really, all of them are great, but yeah, it's like there is this thing. So one time he was discussing, he was in the masjid, and there were women and men, which shows us that women take part when it comes to politics and, agreements that take place. And he was saying something that's relevant to women, a rule, a new rule or regulation. And then this woman stood up and said, Omar, you're wrong. And everyone looked. He was known for his, he was a little bit, right or wrong, and he was stiff sometimes. And then everyone thought, uh-oh, she's in trouble. And then they started talking. He told them, please stop talking. Can you tell me why am I wrong? And then she started talking and supporting her argument with the Quran and Quran verses. And then he told her, well, I have to tell everyone that this woman is right and Omar is wrong. And that is why I withdraw my regulation and we're not going to adopt it. So see, they had a role, even when it comes to constitutions or laws or things like that. They had a law in al-bay'ah, which is, what do you call it, allegiance, providing allegiance? Yeah. So even when Prophet Muhammad had the bay'ah, there were women providing allegiance. So they took part in politics. They were leaders. They took part in many things. Sayyidah Khadija was a businesswoman. So we have all sorts of examples in Islam that shows us that women were treated in a very elegant way. They were cherished. They had the chance to do all sorts of good things. They had the chance to go out there and take part in every field in life. When it comes to the equality, women and men are equal when it comes to the deeds. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in several verses in the Quran never said only men or only women. It's always women and men. And in Arabic, it's never specified, by the way. It's like him or her. It's like plural. Yeah. So that is equality. But sometimes you find that equality diverts nowadays. I mean, equality is not basically like I am like the man or the man like I am like the woman. You know, it's not like this. It shouldn't be taken like this. We have biologically. Why are we two genders? Because we have different biological features or physical features or different biology than the man. Even the brain is different. Not less intellectual or more intellectual. It's a case by case. But we're different. So why not cherish this difference as well? I mean, let's cherish the difference that men are men and women are women. Anyways, you know what I mean? We're not going into any other stuff. That's, I mean, in Islam in general. So that's basically what I wanted to say today. I mean, I just wanted to highlight how women are cherished in Islam and that the word oppression, when it comes to the true Muslim dictionary, it's not there. But it's there nowadays because of mispracticing, because of people who are not adopting the true teachings of Islam. That is why we find nowadays new wordings like oppression, like violence. Violence. Never in the history of Islam were people asked to kill innocent people, for instance. Never in the history of Islam. Even a tree, don't cut a tree. Don't kill a person as long as not fighting you back. Because fighting each other in any war, people who fight each other, one will kill the other. But killing an innocent person who is armless, never in the history of Islam were we asked. That is why not apologetic. So I won't apologize like that ISIS are doing so because they don't represent us. Like for instance, Qaeda, ISIS, none of them represent Islam. Like none of the extremists represent any other religion. So Islam is not a religion of violence. And for those who are trying to cherry pick verses or hadith that say that Islam is violent, anyone can cherry pick any verses from any religion to show whatever they want. But we can't just take anything out of context. That is why scholars need to meet each other and decrease the gaps. Religion scholars, whether Muslim scholars, Judaism, Christianity, they need to reduce the gap. So when we see efforts out there that are trying to prove each other wrong, or people that are trying to show the worst in Islam or the worst in Christianity, at the end, we as Muslims believe in all religions. We believe in all prophets. So as long as everyone is trying to be his best and her best, that's what we want. And at the end, we will be judged in the day of judgment by Allah. So why should we judge each other then? Just look into the person's deeds, and that's it. So, yeah, in general, that is what I wanted, to talk about. And if you have any questions or any comments or any things you want to add, yeah. Again, so I can't hear.
You said that everything, all the verses in the Quran, they came after something happened.
Yeah, so.
You said there was a verse in the Quran about being happened for a while.
Yeah.
Is there something that happened before that verse came?
Yeah. So basically, before that verse came, there was a battle called Uhud, and it's a battle between Muslims and the enemies back then, and many Muslim men died. So there were a lot of women and children left behind, and they need someone to support them. So that is why the verse came, because basically the verse came in order to say you can go out there and help these women. You can marry 2, 3, or 4 wives to help them, and that's by itself is great because you're embracing people who need help. So that is the main reason why the verse was there. But nowadays they're using it, you know, for their desire. I mean, basically, if there's no reason to marry a second, a third, and a fourth wife, why should the person marry? I mean, I believe like one is more than enough. Even men nowadays believe that. So